What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We are back once again with a brand new episode of Monday Movie Matinee. It is your host, Adam Perez. Let's talk movies, baby. That's right. Today is, in fact, every Monday, as always, breaking down some of the newest releases in the box office and talking with you guys about it as we get the opportunity to check out some of these films throughout the weekend and then give you guys our thoughts and final grades in regards to it. It is just myself this week, rocking solo dolo here today. Stuart has a busy weekend, so for you today, we've got two movies that we're going to be talking about: the brand new Tony film, along with the brand new Jason Statham film in Mutiny. So we got two great movies to certainly talk with you guys here today. Give me 1 second, though. I'm not fully finished here. Give me one moment. Just want to get some last minute things set up here. But yeah, it is just myself here today, so I certainly hope you guys definitely do not mind. We do have Kiki in the house here for sure today, as always. I saw End of Oak Street and La La Land this past weekend, but I hope to see Tony this weekend. So I did check to see if La La Land was playing anywhere in my area. Surprisingly, I got no showings. There's usually at least one movie theater that I can kind of count on that does like those small specials or even like limited time runs on things. But actually looking at my AMC right now, I do not see it listed anywhere. Was it just for this weekend? Because now that I'm looking at it for now playing, I don't even see it on. Oh, there it is. La La Land 20th anniversary. Yeah, I got no showing, surprisingly. There are a couple other movies that I was going to certainly try and see this week. That Matthew McConaughey movie that I have been talking about, no showings anymore. I mean, it literally was just released last week, and I've got no place around here that's kind of showing that movie at all. So it's kind of troubling and kind of sad, actually. Yeah, I think it's called The Rivals of Zia King. There's one showing left at one theater a couple miles away from me, so maybe if I can catch something like that later in the week, I really want to check it out. Like, I love trying to find gems in original movies that are currently out that nobody's really talking about, to see what they're about, and I usually find some pretty good ones. But sometimes it's just really hard to kind of come by some of the smaller original films, because some theaters just refuse to put it in their theaters, in the sense of, like, they probably just don't think it's going to garner a lot of attention, unfortunately. So some movies, even though they release, might be in theaters a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then if they're not bringing in enough for the theaters, they might just wind up dropping them. So really sad to kind of see, but we'll see what comes up this week for us. Good news for these movies that Stuart is not giving them a grade. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, sometimes I tend to be a little bit biased in my own grading. I try and be as fair-minded as I possibly can when it comes to it, but you can always count on Stuart to kind of give things a little bit of a curve and set things right. You know what I mean? But today, we're going to talk about two movies: Tony, the Anthony Bourdain film, along with the new Jason Statham film in Mutiny. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to make sure I have everything down that I need for Tony, because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about first. The brand new Anthony Bourdain. The synopsis reads: 19-year-old Anthony Bourdain stumbles into a chaotic world of restaurant kitchen, setting off a summer that shapes the course of his life. I know Kiki and Luke is a big Tony fan. I'm actually surprised you didn't get the opportunity to see it this week, but I absolutely had to. I will admit, I definitely have seen and watched Anthony Bourdain on television. For sure, fantastic to certainly watch him. Very sad for his passing. And I didn't even know that they were making a movie about his life. But if you ask me, I feel like Anthony Bourdain's life could legit be a freaking trilogy, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, the fact that this movie literally takes place in just encapsulating like 1 year of his life, I kind of want to see more of his life. This story really focuses up until the point to where he actually uh, I believe it's him in college, up until the point of him actually entering culinary school. I think this movie does a really great job, especially like the very opening scene is a quote from Anthony Bourdain himself that literally explains like who he was as a kid, self-centered, narcissistic, risk taker sort of thing, right? And it really kind of sets the groundwork for what this movie is really going to be focusing on. I mean, the idea and the struggles that he has relating with his mom, what his family life certainly is, the amount of lies that this man winds up telling to get by. I mean, if you need like the definition of fake it till you make it, that was Anthony Bourdain's life for the most part, right? Saying shit that he thought people just wanted to hear, shaping himself and molding himself into what other people might have desired from him or what he thought other people wanted him to certainly be, and not really have any sort of course to his life whatsoever. I thought the directing in here was absolutely marvelous, even some of the editing. I'm actually a really big fan of the cast that they wind up getting in here. Dominic Sessa, who plays Anthony Bourdain, I believe I saw him also in the Holdovers with Paul Giamatti. He was so freaking good in that. One of the things that I really love too about Dominic Sessa, he's just as good in this movie. He just kind of plays that kid that always feels like the awkward kid, not fully comfortable in his own skin, always trying to kind of prove himself, sort of thing. I think Dominic Sessa plays that so incredibly well. To the point to where it's like sometimes the camera and the editing choices to just sit on his facial features and his expressions, you can really just tell a lot through his eyes and what he's thinking and how he certainly comes across. And there are a few sequences in here, especially when you're playing opposite somebody like Antonio Banderas, who's also incredible in this movie too, as a restaurant owner that he winds up bumping into. There's also Leo Woodall, who plays Sal in here. I feel like I've seen this kid Leo Woodall in other things, but as far as like the troublemaker, the person that like Tony finds himself attached to in regards to Sal, I think he really comes across great as like the troublemaker. Like anytime that he's on scene, it's a little nerve-wracking because you're wondering like, when is this guy gonna sort of like pop off? So I always thought that they kind of he definitely plays up like the antagonist role, I guess, relatively well, even though majority of the movie he's kind of friends with Tony, but you can tell he's one of those cases of like he's just a terrible influence on this guy. You know what I mean? There's even a portion of this movie where Antonio Banderas's character kind of calls him the sin eater, the person that that anytime that they're around, it's like they gobble up the sins of everybody else, and so they just carry around this, I don't want to say this evilness about them, but this troublemaker in them, you know what I mean? To kind of free the other people up around him of some of their sins and allow them to live a little bit more of a peaceful life, sort of thing. So the defining Sal as sort of the sin eater in this film, I think was really perfect, if I'm being honest with you. But it is fascinating to kind of see Anthony's motivations during this time in his life. The very much triggered by a female going above and beyond to certainly impress somebody, and the amount of lies that this person winds up telling in order to kind of stay face. I mean, there are definitely times when I'm sitting here watching this movie thinking to myself, like just be honest, dude. Like, what is it that you are sort of ashamed of? And it's not really until he starts getting called out about it kind of later in this movie where he sort of realizes that the things that he's doing is kind of dumb, you know. I mean, it takes a lot. It takes, you know, I'm kind of surprised as to like how long it takes Anthony to really um recognize the errors of his ways, because even in this movie when things do go awry in like the most unfortunate ways, there is still a part of him that is very narcissistic, still very self-centered, and it's not until towards really the final act of this movie that something kind of goes off for him. And so, you know, I always I find this type of movie an interesting one too, because considering the fact that it took Anthony, like you would think somebody like Anthony Bourdain always wanted to be a cook, you know what I mean? And to kind of just stumble upon this in life. First off, I mean, the privilege that this man has alone, can we just talk about that real quick? The privilege that this man has alone to go to a great college, have parents that, I mean, granted, he doesn't necessarily get along very well with his parents, but to have the money or whatever, to just pick up and leave and just go and just live your life out in Cape Cod, you know, by the beach. You know, granted, my man was was poor half the time, and he's getting freebies here. But to live a privileged life, to go out and do these things and still have like be a dick about things at the same time is crazy to me. But I think this movie does a great job of showcasing the idea that even when we're young, it really does take a lot of people a long time to find something that they truly love. And sometimes it's one of those things that you don't necessarily discover right away. It's a lot of trial and error. And sometimes it's just by the grace of somebody else. Like the opportunities truly can come out of the blue. And what I loved about Antonio Banderas' character in here as the chef is that he is that person to Anthony Bourdain, the person that gives him an opportunity, that you know, puts him in a position to certainly succeed, putting him in a position in which he's not really thankful or grateful for the most part throughout this entire movie. But you see him acquiring these skills, you know, paying attention to detail, curious and wanting to learn, eventually utilizing that for maybe some of all the wrong reasons. But by the end of the film, going on this particular journey, we're realizing, like, you know what, like the path that I originally set for myself is not one that I truly even want to do. And to be able to find opportunity when it's handed to you, even when you're not necessarily even looking for it, and what that one moment in somebody's life can truly do and turn your life around in that regards, like to where Anthony Bourdain ended up. I mean, people would love to be in his position. You know what I mean? And so it's fascinating again to see somebody that has that amount of privilege and freedom to just do as they wish, even though they're still struggling in that process, like the privilege that allows them to even get to where they need to get to, and then yet also having somebody literally give them an opportunity, not only say on a silver platter, because he definitely had to work to get where he's at in that particular field, but to just randomly bump into a good Samaritan in that regards, that believes in giving people an opportunity, believes in helping somebody when you see that they're down, and what that opportunity can really do in somebody's life. And I really found Anthony's life super compelling, like really compelling. Like, if this is the stuff that he went through just in his college years, I need to know next, like what happened in his culinary life. You know, like his life literally could be a trilogy, and I would be so fascinated just to kind of see the twists and turns, and truly, like, even him ending up in culinary school, does he still hold on to some of his Tony-isms, the things that still annoy people and get under their skin? It's it's funny that literally the only one of the only times in this entire movie where Tony seemingly is honest about anything is the very end of this film. And the fact that the person that he's honest to is like, well, at least you're honest about it. I mean, talk about a huge contrast to the rest of this film. Like, it is amazing how much of a dick Anthony Bourdain certainly was as a kid, but he would probably tell you that to your face also if he had to tell you his life story. But I thought, I don't even know who the director was. Matthew Johnson. I'm not too familiar with anything else that Matthew Johnson has done off the top of my head, but I thought from a directing standpoint, brilliant. Cinematography was great, especially in regards to capturing sort of the Cape Cod feel and whatever the case may be. Cool restaurant set designs and whatnot. Great cast choices too. There's a Monica Raymond in here who plays one of the waitresses in Mary. I felt like I used to see her all the time on like Law and Order, or it might have been like the SVU show or whatever the case may be, like the CSI kind of stuff, right? So to kind of see her pop up and I know she's been in movies before, but anytime I get the opportunity to see like well-known TV actors getting semi decent roles in movies, I'm always kind of proud of them, just because I'm like, oh, I remember where you came from, and now look at you, you're in here. I thought she was pretty good. The counterpart to Anthony in here, the girl that he's crazy about, Nancy, played by Amelia Jones, I thought she was pretty good in here also. Yeah, I probably would go to bat for her too if I was Anthony Bourdain, so I'm not even mad at the guy. But overall, if I had to grade this movie, this was a high B plus for me, guys. I mean, I'm talking 89%. It was close to being a 90. I was really impressed with the writing. Just Anthony Bourdain's story in general is just a fascinating one. I thought all the performances were really great. I hope Dominic Sessa maybe gets nominated for this particular role. Again, I don't know if he was nominated for the Hangovers that he did with Paul Giamatti or not, but he's really good as Tony in here also. Editing in regards to pacing, there's some really great sort of montages in here as he's learning how to cook that I thought looked really good. The ability of knowing when to cut to another scene or when to stay on a character and really draw out their emotions, I thought was pretty stellar. Being able to feel like I'm kind of curious if they did, for VFX work here, I'm kind of curious to know if they actually did a lot of set locations, like filming on set type of thing, not, filming on location, if you will. But the ability to make it feel very 1970s and feel like that world and that time period of being lived in, whether it be from a digital standpoint of the backgrounds or fixing up some of the towns so it looks maybe more like the original 1970s streets and stores and things like that. I thought it did a marvelous job. I mean, so everything was either solid or above solid in regards to this. So this movie for me winds up coming in at a B plus. And again, that's about like an 89% when I did the calculation. So does the way he passed affect your opinion for him? I will say this. I think, because well, let me just double check before I put my foot in my mouth. Okay, so I thought he died by suicide. I just wanted to double check that. If I could be honest with you, I think this movie also does a good job of really showcasing the type of lifestyle that Anthony was open to living, you know, his insecurities, his issues with his mom, although I'm kind of curious to know as he got older if he ever rectified them, especially as he became more focused on what he certainly wanted to do. There's a great sequence in here that highlights that maybe he's a little bit more like his mom than maybe even he certainly wants to kind of admit. Um, but as he clearly goes on in his career, based off of the movie, it kind of seems as though his mom eventually comes to appreciate him a little bit more, sort of thing. So, I think if anything, seeing how he lived previously in his young life, and some of the things that he struggles with and how he kind of just viewed himself, I don't know if it affects my opinion of him, but it makes me understand why somebody like him would maybe choose that way to go, if that makes sense, um I always view, and this is probably frowned upon, for people that do deal with depression or anxiety, or that sense of not wanting to necessarily be here anymore. It's always one of those things that it's hard to know what somebody is certainly going through. I know depression can suck. I know depression is deadly. It is a very serious thing. But when somebody commit suicide, from the not just from their standpoint but from the outside looking in, I think it is a very selfish act. um Not to say that, like, uh, it I'm not mad at people that do that, um because heaven knows it's clearly hard for them to talk to somebody, but the idea of committing suicide and leaving people behind that truly do love you and care about you, it's and leaving people with that wreckage to have to heal from. Like, I've seen people on the other side of that have lost people to suicide. I've been close to families that have had to deal with that, and it's always leaves them with a bunch of questions. The only thing that we can hope and pray for is that we hope that these people knew that they were loved, even though at that time I'm sure they probably felt nobody would care if anything kind of happened to me. But I would say, after watching this film, I think seeing how Anthony lived his life, very on the edge, very recklessly at times, making bad decisions for a lot of his youth, it feels like. um, I can see that always being something very hard to break away from. And so I don't really have a negative or more positive view or anything like that. I just, if there's anything that I walked away from appreciating from this movie, it's just appreciation of his life a little bit more, the ups and downs, the struggles, the opportunities that were given to him, and pouncing on those when he eventually did, and just coming to just appreciate his life a little bit more. Um, Anthony Bourdain actually didn't become famous until he turned 43. He wasn't a responsible person until he became famous. To his credit, he was always respectful to his fans. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could totally, I can totally see that. And I think that's what they talked about too. Towards the end of the movie, it kind of gives you, like a little blurb, a little paragraph or something like that of his life, and it is amazing. It does say, like, he didn't publish his first book until he was like 43 or 44. That he really didn't become famous like that until sort of later in his life. I can see the idea of him not being a responsible person, though. Those are quirks that I think, even though he does admit himself into culinary school, I'm sure the ideas of the risk taking, the narcissism in him, um, really still managed to have him make bad decisions, certainly kind of along the way. You know what I mean? But to stick with it, and to get, it's one of those things where, like, clearly, if you stick with it long enough, you good things can possibly happen for you. And I think that's even a lesson that he winds up learning in this movie, certainly from his mentor, seeing his mentor's journey, to where his mentor wind up becoming to finally open up something for himself, right? Much later in his life and have some level of ownership. So I can see that kind of carrying over into Anthony's life in that regards. Kiki and Lucas says B plus for Adam, C plus for Stu. No, I think Stu probably actually would have liked this movie. I don't necessarily know if he would have given it a C plus. I think this might have maybe a B minus, maybe a B or B minus for him or something like that. But yeah. Anthony Bourdain was someone I really admired and wanted to like. He spoke on behalf of people who didn't have a voice. I remember he once said a poor family had made fat sacrifices to feed him. No, it's absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't say, I don't know if I would say that his mentor here was certainly poor. He was definitely getting by, but to be able to see the impact that somebody can have on you for their selfless act and wanting to simply just provide and take care of somebody, that's got to have an effect on him. And I think it did, based off of where he decided to kind of go by the end of this movie, you know? So yeah, you never know whose life you can certainly touch. That's why we shouldn't be assholes to each other. You know what I mean? That's why we shouldn't be assholes to each other. But great movie, man. Great movie. Great directing, great editing, performances, top notch. You guys definitely won't be. And I think because of who he is as a person, it always kept this movie interesting. Like I definitely chuckled at sometimes in regards to either the jokes or some of the decisions that he winds up making. But you feel for him in this movie, and it's definitely a roller coaster in that regards, and a really well done film. So yeah, give me a B plus, 89% for Tony. If you get the opportunity to check it out in theaters, guys, I highly recommend that you do. The next movie that I want to go ahead and talk about is a brand new Jason Statham film that wind up releasing this week too, called Mutiny. It either released this week or the previous week. Now look, Jason Statham, famous, right? I mean, I'm sure everybody can name a Jason Statham movie off the top of their head, maybe one or two of them, sort of thing. He's been in a Fast. I think he came in the Fast and the Furious movie once or twice, if I'm not mistaken. But my last experience with Jason Statham, not the greatest. I can't remember the name of the movie that I wind up watching him in. But I remember telling myself, you know, I felt like Jason Statham was on a pretty positive trajectory. And then I saw his previous movie and I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and check out that film. You know, like I've missed the past couple of Jason Statham films. And a part of me was like, I've heard positive things. Let me go ahead and check out the movie. I checked out his last movie, did not care for it whatsoever. And I told myself, I was like, you know what? I kept seeing this trailer in front of movies when I'm at the theaters. I see Jason Statham in a brand new movie, Mutiny. I'm like, you know what? Trailers look pretty decent. Action looks pretty compelling. You know, maybe this is Jason Statham's. Like, maybe this is it. This is the one. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a shot. I did. Man. Jason Statham, what is happening, bro? 2 for 2. You're disappointing me, my guy. Oh man, this was a rough one. I'm not even gonna lie. For those of you who don't know what Mutiny is about, well, first off, so sorry, my screen just like jacked up on me. Give me one moment here. For those of you who don't know what the movie Mutiny is about, let me go ahead and pull this up here for you. Where did it go? It says, after his billionaire industrial boss is murdered in front of him, Cole Reed is set up to take the fall for the crime, leaving him on the run as he works to uncover an international conspiracy. Sounds compelling, right? It's not. It's really not. You know, it's so funny. I swear sometimes my phone listens to me. All right. I remember thinking to myself out loud, man, has Jason Statham always been this bad of an actor? Like, I don't remember him being bad as an actor, but I always felt like he always found roles that fit him great. Like I remember him in like The Italian Job. Wasn't he in was it Snitch also? I can't remember if he was in Snitch or not, but I swear I've seen this man play opposite other good actors and hold his own. Even like something that's like action heavy as like The Expendables, like what you're gonna get from Jason Statham, but he's like always great in those roles. You know what I mean? Um, and so anyway, I'm thinking to myself out loud as I'm watching this movie, like, how good as an actor is Jason Statham? And literally my phone today sent me an interview of Jason Statham where he says, "I'm not an actor." I'm like, well, that answers it, bro. That answers it. It sounds like his life is somebody picked him up to be in a particular role. He fit that role perfectly, and he's just gained stardom from it, like from doing just one particular thing. And he's managed to fake it till he makes it to a certain extent. And when I'm watching it, the story of this movie is just horrible. The acting in this movie is just atrocious. If there's any great thing about this movie, I will say the directing is top notch, dude. Like from an action standpoint, um, some of the coolest like fight directing I've really seen. Great close-up shots when they need to be, really cool angles. You feel and see every punch. There's even some blood splatter sometimes on the screen. Definitely visceral in regards to some of the violence. It's not super heavy in the violence, but it's definitely violent at times. If there's one thing that Jason Statham does great, it's kicking ass. And my man does that great in kicking ass. But if you're trying to give him heavy dialogue or any dialogue at all that's supposed to have any emotional depth to it, it just doesn't work for me. It's really one note sort of thing. And the script, he didn't really have too much to work with. Like maybe I'll talk a little bit about it in the spoiler aspect of things, but I did not like this movie. There are, pacing was fine. I thought the length of the film was okay, but there are just moments from story beat wise that feel sometimes too convenient. I do wish that there were times when they elaborated on certain things, gave us more exposition than what they certainly did. Some things just happen by convenience at times, that some just don't make any sense, sort of thing. There's a lot of things in here that just don't make any sense to me, if I'm being honest. But when things feel like this is time for exposition, this is time to really dig deep into certain things, it doesn't do any of that, unfortunately. So this movie, unfortunately for me, really missed the mark. And it does make me question the idea of like, I may not watch another solo Jason Statham film again. If he's maybe a part of an ensemble, I might go ahead and certainly check this movie out, check that film out, where he doesn't have to necessarily carry all the emotional weight, if you will. The editing in here was rather choppy at times in regards to the pacing. I do wish that sometimes they stuck on things a little bit longer to give us those moments of exposition, but I don't even think the script was asking for exposition, if I'm being honest, in regards to certain things. The emotions behind things just didn't seem super believable to me. So yeah, I heard somebody say, one reviewer say, Mutiny is like Die Hard but on a ship. No, it's not. No, that's really kind of disrespectful to Die Hard, if I'm being honest. I mean, the idea of just one lone man killing people on this ship, I know we think of like, McLean, but trust me, there was so much more better emotional beats to it. I mean, one man armies, yes, we definitely have seen that before, but at least McLean was like a cop, just a regular cop who just happened to get his ass beat and, still managed to kind of come up on top, like really fearless in that regards, but just an everyday man. No, this Jason Statham in this movie is not an everyday man, okay? I mean, and he always plays the same fucking role all the time, like ex-military, ex-Green Beret, on the run, or changed his life and now he's trying to live the committed life, pulled back into the grit and grime. Like, bro, like he plays the same character all the time. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, why are you going down this Liam Neeson path? Like, is this like your Nicolas Cage path? Do you owe people money? Like, are you in bankruptcy? Like, do you need money that badly to just go out and just make any movie that kind of comes across your way? That's what I felt about this movie. Again, the action incredible, directing incredible in that regards from the action point of view, but that's really like where a lot of the praise goes, if I'm being honest. So let's just peel off the band-aid on this one, man. We're talking we're talking, if we are talking grades, I give this one a D, guys. If you want to see movies for yourself, I'm never going to tell you not to go see a film. If you like Jason Statham, if you're like, look, dude, I'm just here for the action, then yes, by all means, check this out. If you're here for cool directing and cool action, check it out. But acting, abysmal. Writing, abysmal. Even the sound and music, VFX, meh. Big ocean shots, big container shots. I mean, what are we really doing here, right? Editing, anytime there's good directing from a action standpoint, you really rely heavily too on editing. So I did bump it up to an 8. I didn't want to go crazy with the editing just because of the idea that I feel like sometimes it shortchanged me a little bit in the beginning of this movie, regards to just lack of exposition, lack of pacing, or whatever the case may be. But this movie, I think, wind up coming in at a 69%, if I'm not mistaken, like a 68%. So definitely a D in my regards. And sometimes I feel like that might be being too generous, if I'm being honest. I did see the Rotten Tomatoes score for this afterwards. Critics hated this movie. They actually graded it less than I did. Audiences gave this movie like an 83 or like an 80 something. I'm kind of surprised. I'm like, maybe all these people just wanted to see cool action from Jason Statham and weren't asking too much in regards to like the rest of the movie. And in that regards, okay, cool. Yeah, I might have given it like a 85 or a 90 in that regards. But if we're talking like as a whole movie, nah, man, like I'm not gonna revisit this film. Like I'm cool to say I saw it, but I'm not going to revisit this film. And I don't know, it's been a minute since I've given something like a failing grade in regards to like a D or an F. It's really rare that I come on here and like just shit on a movie. But I'm always fair and always honest with you guys about how I feel about these films. So again, I probably will not see another Jason Statham solo movie unless it's like a MCU or DC movie. Like if they hired my man to be a superhero or a villain in a movie, I might check it out. But like a Jason Statham led movie by himself, no, I'm not going to watch them anymore. If anything, if he is part of an ensemble, count me in. But as far as solo goes, nah, I'm good, man. I'm good. So take this D with you for this film, being dead ass. If there was a moment of a spoiler, I gotta talk about. I just gotta. I just because I'm sure some people are not gonna watch this movie after this review. But there is a moment in this film where they get a call out to the Coast Guard or the Naval Coast Guard or something like that, and they're kind of suspicious about the fact that they got this call from this shipping container ship, but they eventually find out like from the distress calls like something's going down, like we need to send our boys out there. So they send like the Navy SEALs, right? So they're aware as to Cole Reed, him being on the ship. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but he's on the run. He's a fugitive in this film, and they find out that he's on board with also other deadly people, right? So everything happens in the final act, and just as things come to an end, that's when the Navy SEALs wind up showing up, right? And so they know who they know they're there to pick up Cole Reed along with all these other assholes, a part of this sort of like child, or just as I'm assuming it's a sex trafficking ring, or just a human trafficking ring, I should say, just a human trafficking ring. So they the Navy SEALs literally get up on board. They know what Cole Reed looks like. They arrest the man, and the person that's helping Cole Reed is like, "Oh, that's not Cole Reed. That's somebody else." And they're looking at the guy, and they're like, "You mean this is not Cole Reed?" And she's like, "No, this is not Cole Reed." "Well, what happened to Cole Reed?" "Oh, Cole Reed is dead. He's deceased. This man is just my helper." And they're looking at the dude, knowing that this man is Cole Reed. And it's like, they're like, "Oh, okay." I mean, they didn't wink, but they might as well have fucking winked to just go along with it, right? And then the admiral of the Navy SEAL ship is like, is Cole Reed in custody?" No, sir. He's deceased, but there is a stranger that has taken this pirate ship and is leaving the vicinity. Okay, so Cole Reed's dead, but there's like a random person hijacking the pirate ship? Yes, sir, that's correct. And we're just going to let the pirate ship go? Yes, sir, that's correct. Okay. Like what? Like if we're being serious here, like the Navy SEALs is like the Navy SEALs is coming in and handcuffing everybody. All right. I'm talking interrogations. I'm talking processing people. There ain't no way that these people were just gonna let this man walk scot-free so he can continue his his vengeance spree out there. Like, it's just the most ridiculous, unbelievable thing that I've ever seen in my life. Like, really, like, this is the Navy? This is how the Navy like handles situations like this? Like, oh, this man's wanted for murder, and we're just gonna let him, just continue to commit crimes and pretend like we didn't see anything? Like, okay, Cole Reed's dead. I gotcha. Like, no, ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. This is a lot of that in this film, unfortunately. Some things just don't make any sense. So unbelievable stuff. Keegan Luke says a Jason Statham movie won't be high quality, but hopefully it's fun. This movie sounds like a streaming movie. Definitely a streaming movie, my guy. Definitely a streaming movie. Popcorn and streaming kind of film. Wow, D, is that the lowest score on an A+ hero report? No, I'm pretty sure there's probably a movie out there that might have gotten an F before, but not from me. D probably might be the lowest that I've gone on maybe 2 other occasions. An F, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an F in there somewhere, and it might be based off of myself, Stuart, and Indy kind of grading something. If not an F, then a really low D. So yeah, not the lowest score for sure. I can tell you that right now. Not the lowest score. I know we don't see a lot of them over here. Not to say that some movies aren't bad, but I think we have some really well-balanced opinions here from multiple people that I think help even out a lot of our grades to a more appropriate grade, if you will. But I can probably tell you that I feel confident Stuart probably would have. I mean, if this is a D for me, can you imagine what Stewart's curve would have been for this movie? I don't know. Maybe he might have been a little bit generous and bumped this thing up to like a C- or something like that. But yeah, that's my Mutiny review, guys. Unfortunately, I wish I could have given you better news for Jason Statham. Look, Jason Statham, look, if you ever want to invite me, though, to a premiere anytime, please let me know. I'll give you my address, whatever the case may be. But don't beat me up, because you probably could. But no disrespect. I'm just letting you know, man. Like, we got to get that writing up, that quality of script up, and some work. But I think Jason Statham is more than fine with where he's at in his career. I'm sure this man has made plenty of money. I do like his action. He is a badass. I'm sure there's plenty of other great Jason Statham movies I can go back and certainly enjoy. I've just been burned twice in a row, and so I would much rather see Jason Statham as part of an ensemble kind of moving forward. But those are just my A+ opinions in both regards. So again, just recapping for you guys in regards to Tony, a B+ coming in at an 89%. Definitely check it out if you're excited for this film. And then Mutiny with a D coming in at 69%. But that will certainly do it for me here today, guys. I like to give you guys a little bit of a brief preview in regards to what's coming out next week. Let me see if there's a coming soon section here on my AMC stubs list. What is this week? We've got the 28th. So we got a brand new Ridley Scott film coming out, The Dog Stars. I haven't really cared for the trailers that much. But maybe I'll check it out. We also have Coyote versus Acme. I really don't care to see that film, if I'm being honest, but I feel like it might be something I need to see. We also have a horror film. I think it's a horror film, Buddy. I don't know what that entails, but that also comes out August 28th. And then we have The Colony, which I believe is coming from the director of the gentleman that did The Train to Busan. I believe it's another zombie movie that he wind up doing. So it's definitely an international film called Colony. If there is a theater playing it, I might try and check it out here this week. So I think those are the big 4 movies that are certainly dropping. I'll talk with Stuart and see what we actually talk about next week. If anything, I would probably say maybe The Dog Stars and Coyote versus Acme. And then maybe we'll throw in the third film here or there for either Buddy or Colony, but we'll definitely keep you guys posted by next Monday. So definitely join us next Monday, myself and Stuart, as we review movies for you guys. Other than that, that's going to do it for me here today. I will be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time for our Lanterns Episode 2 review. So definitely join us then, and then throughout the rest of the week as we drop more random videos for you guys until next Sunday's show. But that will do it for me here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next week. Until then, do me a big favor, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll see you at the movies. Bye.